Hello, so we're going to talk about Lily Cat, an anime movie that came out in the 80s. It is a movie that I've wanted to see for the longest time and just for some reason never got around to it. But yeah, I think this is actually going to be the first anime that I cover. Well, unless you count Dress, but this is the first anime movie. And yeah, this is something that I kind of want to do with this channel. I kind of want to do more anime stuff. I wanted to do anime stuff back when I started doing manga spotlights. I just never got around to doing them. But I believe I'm going to focus more on OVAs and movies rather than TV shows, just because when it comes to TV shows, I like to give each episode its own like attention. And I think doing 20 something plus videos on one series might be too much. So we're going to just mostly focus on movies and short OVAs. And yeah, so Lily Cat's going to be our first movie that we discuss. Lily Cat came out in 1987. It is directed by Hisayuki Toriyumi. He is best known for directing the original Gatchaman series, which most people in America probably know it as Battle of the Planets, because that's what happened. It got adapted as Battle of the Planets, as well as G-Force Guardians of Space. So yeah, basically it got the Macross Robotech situation where they brought in Macross and turned it into Robotech. Well, they brought in Gatchaman, turned it into Battle of the Planets. So yeah, same director. The characters were designed by Yusaomi Umitsu. Hopefully I pronounced that right. But he is best known for directing and creating Kites, which is especially if you get the uncensored version, the uncut version, it's pretty messed up. But yeah, he's known for that. And he's also done like a bunch of character designs for other stuff, including Gatchaman OVA, Cashin Robot Hunter, Megazone 23 Part 2, stuff like that. And we have the monster designed by Yoshitaka Amano. And Yoshitaka Amano is best known for doing the illustrations for Vampire Hunter D, the light novels, the original novels. He did the illustrations for those, as well as character designs and illustrations for a lot of the original Final Fantasy games, like Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, all that stuff. So yeah, it seems like we have a pretty good team involved in this movie. So for anyone who hasn't heard of Lily Cat, it's a sci-fi, horror sci-fi. But the premise for this movie is a space voyage goes horribly wrong for a crew when a sinister criminal on board leaks a deadly virus that aims to kill the team off one by one. The best way to, I guess, explain this premise, I mean, other than just that one sentence, is that the movie is basically John Carpenter's The Thing meets Ridley Scott's Alien. So yeah, you have a creature kind of like John Carpenter's The Thing, and it's set on board a spaceship similar to Ridley Scott's original Alien movie. So it's basically those two movies combined. And I'm like, all right, that's awesome, because Ridley Scott's Alien is one of the greatest horror movies ever, and John Carpenter's The Thing is, in my opinion, one of the greatest horror movies ever. Like, it's easily in my top three, not just horror movies, but my top three movies in general. Let's dive right into this. So I'm going to do what I usually do for the worst of Netflix, where I will be going through the summary of the movie, and I'll be showing like screen grabs and stuff. But yeah, enough rambling. Let's get right into this. So this movie takes place in the future. I don't know if they actually give a year. On the Wikipedia, they say the 23rd century, so I'm just going to go with that. So yeah, 23rd century. There's mega corporations, and they basically are surveying distant planets for mining rights. Like, whoever can get to these planets first can get the rights to the planets, and they can mine it for supplies and stuff. And one of the corporations is called Syncam. They're surveying this new planet, and that's where all of our characters come in. All of our characters are working for Syncam, or they work for like the shuttle. And the shuttle basically has this technology, cryostasis in a sense. It's able to put everyone to sleep. So everyone goes to hypersleep for 20 years, which is the distance it takes to travel to this planet. But they will only biologically age for 1 month. So we start off basically straight out of Aliens 2, where we see all of our characters. They're all in the same room. They're like undressing. It's kind of like that scene of Aliens with all the Marines, and they're like in the locker rooms and stuff like that. That's pretty much what this is. Only they're all like undressing. They're all like communicating with each other, talking to each other. We get bits of their names, their personalities, what they do as they're all getting ready for this hypersleep. And so they go to sleep. And as everyone is asleep, we see the ship computer. It detects like some kind of debris that's flying towards them. And the debris is like there's something alive about it. So the ship grabs one of the objects that's flying towards it and starts to pull it in, scrapes part of the ship, and this material is able to like sword through these pipes, and it kind of dissolves and it spreads through the vents. And we see a cat, the same cat that looks just like one of our characters. Her name is Nancy. She's the daughter of the president of CINCAM, and she has a cat that she's brought aboard named Lily. And we see Lily, or at least what looks like Lily, walking around on the ship. And it's just kind of confusing at first because we see Lily and Lily is asleep in hypersleep. So it's like, how is Lily asleep, but then also walking on the ship while everyone else is asleep? And this is going to be the mystery that, gets answered later on. Yeah, so eventually everybody wakes up years later, and the captain and the crew are, so basically there's two groups of people. There's the CINCAM employees, and then there's the ship employees, the ship crew. All of them were put into hypersleep, including the ship crew. So the ship crew are at the bridge, and they discovered that there was a message that was actually sent to them while they were in hypersleep. So they played the message, and the message is basically informing them that there are two people on board the ship that are not who they say they are. They claim to be CINCAM employees, but they're actually not. Right before he's about to reveal who the person is, who the two people are, and their photos, the data is corrupted, and they're not able to find out. And they also discovered that the ship had collected some kind of debris as well. So the captain and his crew members are kind of discussing like, what the hell is going on? Like how did this data get corrupted? And they realized that someone with brains to mess with the hypersleep was able to get out while everyone was still asleep, corrupt the data, and then get back into their pod before anyone else realized it. And they're trying to discuss like, why would someone want to do that? And the name they come up with is time jumpers. And I thought this was actually a really cool concept, and it can actually be something, for its own movie. But the thing is that because the hypersleep is able to put you to sleep for 20 years, but you only age a month, what happens is there are times where criminals, after they've committed a crime, they'll actually sneak on board ships like this so that they can get put to sleep, and then, travel wherever the ship takes them for 20 years, and then the ship will take them back for another 20 years. So 40 years will pass, but they only age 2 months. So basically they can commit a crime, leave the planet, and then when they come back to the planet 40 years later, they've only aged 2 months, but everyone else has on Earth has aged 40 years, and no one will, remember them or their crime. So that's how people are able to kind of like get out of crimes and sentences and stuff like that, is by trying to sneak on board these ships. I was like, oh, that's actually like a really cool idea. And it does play a part a little bit later on. I'm sure you can kind of guess where this is going. The captain, he's kind of like, let's not do anything with the crew members. Like, let's just leave them be. If someone wants to try to run away from a sentencing or whatever, like, I don't care. Like, just as long as if they don't cause any trouble for us. So it's like, all right, that's kind of weird. You would think like maybe one of the first things you would want to do is find out who these people are. But yeah. Anyways, we get another scene straight out of Aliens where all the characters are in the cafeteria and they're all eating and they're all like talking about themselves and what they do and blah blah blah. So it's kind of like this scene in the opening. So we get more like camaraderie between our characters. And there's one character who I call Florida Man, because he actually says he's from Florida. All the characters have like different backgrounds. There's one from not Australia, New Zealand. There's some from America. There's one from Hong Kong, one from Tokyo. So everyone has different backgrounds. Florida Man is basically straight up stereotypical American when it comes to like, anime. He's tall, buff, blonde hair, obsessed with guns. Like his everyone is able to bring something on board, and the thing that he brought on board was his shotgun. So yeah, we have a scene where he decides to go walk on his own. Like he's exploring the ship on his own, and all of a sudden he hears like this clicking noise, and something happens. Like we don't see him again. We cut back to the rest of the crew, and then that's when the captain like tells two of his men to go get the transport ships ready. So basically, what happens is they've arrived at the planet, but they're still in orbit, and every once in a while, like there's going to be periods wherein they can send transports down to the planet, and one of them is coming up. One of the times that they can send people down, so they have to get the transport ships ready. And as the two men go, they see something off camera, and they rush and they hit the alarm, and everybody comes rushing, and we find Florida Man, and he's dead. They run a scan on him, and they realize that he has like some kind of weird infection in his lungs. They compare it to an actual Earth disease. It's some kind of weird disease, but this one is more like alien. Like it basically it flooded his like lungs, and it seems to like be like dissolving inside him. So yeah, Florida Man is dead. The doctor decides he wants to stay, with Florida Man's corpse and run some more studies. Meanwhile, everyone else is going out and like getting ready. Checking like the rest of the ship to see make sure everything's okay. And that's as they're doing that, we see Lily the cat show up in the medical bay, and the doctor starts playing with the cat for a moment. And then that's when we cut to the bridge where we see the New Zealand man. He works for Syncam. He's messing around with the computer, and he discovers the message that there are people on board who are not who they say they are. And this was a message that the captain wanted to keep confined to just the crew. He didn't want any of the Syncam employees to find out. But New Zealand guy was able to find out. And now he wants to run a background search on everybody. He thinks that this is like really important. He wants, to know who is not who they claim to be. And during this, they get a message from the Hong Kong woman who basically says that, also, like, forgive me for calling these characters, like, other than two characters, Nancy and Hero, all the other characters, I don't really remember their names, even though I just watched the movie. That's, maybe I'm just getting old. But so I'll just be referring to them by like either where they're from or characteristics. So yeah, Hong Kong woman basically informs them that the doctor's dead and Florida Man's body is gone. And so that's when New Zealand Man's like, all right, like, we really have to figure out who is not who they say they are. Whoever it is, they could have been the ones who have leaked something onto this ship. They could be the ones responsible for, these people's death. So they start basically trying to match everyone with what their background claims that they are. And New Zealand Man, we see that he's kind of an a-hole. Like, the first person they interview is the Hong Kong woman. And they find out that she had a baby when she was young, and he kind of points that out, and she gets upset. Like, everyone has secrets in their lives, and if you had one, like, I wouldn't be making fun of you for yours, kind of thing. So yeah, he's kind of a dick. And during this interview, the captain receives a call that two of his crew members haven't come back yet. They're still out checking the ship. They haven't arrived yet. So the captain goes to find out what's going on. He goes to the bridge, and he looks to see what's going on with his two crew members. They're inside the transport room. It's basically just a giant docking bay with two transport ships. And they were supposed to just check the ships, make sure everything was okay and that it was ready to launch. And on the video camera, he sees that both of his crew members are dead. They're just lying on the floor. They look the same as the doctor and Florida Man. So now there's 4 people that are dead. And as this is going on, Nancy is trying to find her cat. Hero goes to help her. look for the cat while the rest of the crew members decide to continue on with the interviews. And all of a sudden, Hero rushes back in and he tells everyone, like, quick, we got to go to the sick bay. So everyone rushes to the sick bay, and they discover that the 4 crew members that are dead, their bodies are gone. All that's left are their clothes. And they're kind of wondering, like, what the hell is going on? Like, what happened to the bodies? Why aren't they here? Like, did this disease like completely dissolve them? But if so, why are their clothes still here? Like, so everyone's just kind of confused. And then that's when they hear Nancy screaming and the alarms go off, and they rush down to where she's at. And we get this very sad scene. At least I think it's sad. It bummed me out, where we see her cat Lily is dying. It's basically being pulled into this hole in the wall, and blood's gushing out, and it's getting like twisted, and its body's like just getting all messed up. So yeah, they witness Lily dying. So Nancy's upset. The New Zealand guy says, all right, like, shame about the cat, but let's continue on with the interview. And of course, everyone's kind of upset about that, but he's like he talks to Nancy. He's like, one person knows who you are, but I'm from the Australian branch, and I have no idea who you are. Like, I've never heard of you before. Maybe you're lying. Maybe you're one of the people who aren't who they claim to be. And as they're having this argument, the Hong Kong woman leaves the area. She goes to the sick bay, and she goes onto the medical table so she can have a scan of her chest, because she wants to see if she's been infected. And she finds that she's not, but before she can leave, these tendrils, I don't want to say tentacles, because they're more almost like veins than actual, like, octopus legs or whatever, but these like tendrils kind of pop out, wrap around her, and kill her. So now back on the bridge, the captain receives a message that the hangar doors are opening up, and his crew member is trying to stop that from happening, but she's been locked out. Like, for some reason, her command has been, her control board has been cut. Like, she doesn't have access to the ship any longer. And so the captain's trying to warn, because he sent more people into the transport bay to really, like, to prep the ship. Like, even after he lost 2 members in there, he sends another 2 people to go in there, because they think, okay, like, we should get the hell off this ship. If people are getting infected and dying, maybe we should go down to the planet below. So yeah, the doors open up while 2 people are still in the dock, and so they get blown out into space. The entire docking bay disconnects from the ship and gets blasted off and explodes. So basically, the captain is realizing that the ship is getting rid of parts of itself on its own, and he's not able to command it. He realizes, okay, well, I can't control the ship from the bridge, but maybe if I go to the master control room, I can figure out what the hell is going on. But the door is locked. He asks, like, is everyone here accounted for? One of the women is missing, the Hong Kong woman. And then he says, Hero decides, okay, let's go to the sick bay. We'll probably find her there. And they go to the sick bay, and they find just her clothes, and her body is gone. And they're like, she disappeared just like the rest of them. And that's when Hero says, like, she would, like, they're wondering, like, why was she here? And he says she was doing an x-ray on her lungs. And they're asking, like, how the hell did you know that? And he basically admits that he did the same. Like, while he was going to look for Nancy's cat, he used that as an excuse to go to the sick bay so he can do a scan on his lungs to make sure that he's not infected. And then he basically talks about how the doctor told him about the disease laryngeal. I can't pronounce the word for the life of me. But basically, it was this disease that it killed 2 people. It was at this convention, and somehow the disease got into the air vents, and it went through the air vents, and it got into the convention, and it killed a bunch of people. And his theory is that the same thing happened here. That whatever the ship brought on board, maybe it was strong enough to go through the air vents and go through, like, all the filters and survive, like the water separation tanks and stuff like that. And it got mixed into the ventilation. And now it's basically being blown through by the air supply. So that's how people are getting infected. It's getting blasted through the air vents, the air supply. We have to figure out what the hell is going on. Otherwise, we're just going to end up getting infected in the long run, regardless of what we do, since we're going to be breathing this stuff in. And then that's when the New Zealand guy is like, how do you know so much about medicine? Like it says on your account that you specialize in engineering, not in medicine. That's when Hero basically says, "Oh, I get it. Like I don't know why I didn't pick it up. You're not an employee from the corporation either. You're a detective." That's when we realize that the New Zealand guy is not a SynCam employee. He's a detective. And Hero is not a SynCam employee, but he's actually a man who murdered 3 people. And he came onto this ship so that, he can basically disappear for 40 years. So, we discover who our 2 imposters are. They're Hero and the New Zealand guy. So the New Zealand guy puts handcuffs on Hero, basically, says he's going to, he's under arrest. And then we have this moment where the captain is kind of like, are you seriously like doing this now? Like, does any of this matter at this point in time? Like, we have more serious things to deal with. But the New Zealand guy is very serious about this. And he's like, you know what? Like, no one's going to give a crap when you get back. Like, you should probably check your lungs and stuff like that. And the New Zealand guy is like, hey, like, I'm living now. Right now I'm alive. As long as if I'm alive, then I don't care. Like, I've dealt with gangsters with machine guns. Some stupid disease isn't going to be enough. And, if it kills me, then it kills me. But at this moment, I'm alive, and this guy is a murdering bastard who I'm going to bring in because it's my responsibility to bring him in alive for trial. And the captain's like, again, like, no one's going to care. Like, you're far too young. You'll realize when we get back to Earth that none of this matters. And the New Zealand guy is like, what do you mean? Like, you're like the same age as me. And the captain's like, no, like I'm 240 years old. And my crewmate, she's 151 years old. As well as the rest of my crew. They're anywhere between 150 to 200 years old. It's like, you don't get it, do you? Like, we've done these missions so many times. We've constantly been through hypersleep. We go to hypersleep for 20 years to our destination 20 years back. We've only aged a month in the process, or 2 months in the process. We've had situations where like we come back to Earth and everyone we left behind is gone or has aged. Like I left on my first trip. My son was just a few months old. I came back and he was already a grown man. We've all like lost people because of these trips. Like we come back and technology has changed. Like it's been 40 years. So technology has changed and we're almost like fossils. Like people could just kind of look at us weird because, it's like we're stuck in the past while everyone else has progressed. And so a lot of us decide, you know what, like Earth doesn't really want us anymore. So we continue to do these missions and more and more and more years pass. And we're basically like just people like lost out of time. I was like, this is like a super cool concept. I wonder if Interstellar, borrowed anything from Cat, because that's basically the whole premise behind Interstellar. But they talk about this. Nancy gets kind of upset about hearing this, and she kind of leaves, and she sees her cat, and then her cat starts mutating into this alien creature, and New Zealand man rushes over, and of course Hero gets dragged along because he's handcuffed to New Zealand man, and he sees this creature and he shoots it with a shotgun, and the force of the blast launches him back, and he like breaks some ribs because even though there's gravity on the ship, it's like not enough, so like just like a little momentum will like just launch you. So the captain decides, okay, I'm gonna take my remaining crewmates and one of the SynCam employees. We are going to basically create like a torch. We're going to rig a torch so that we can cut the door open to the master room because we're not able to get in there no matter what we do. But if we can torch the door and cut it open, we can get inside. As they're doing that, we see that there's something asking questions to the mothership. We don't see what it is, but they're basically asking like how how infected is the ship? And the ship is like 70% infected by this thing. And the captain and the SynCam crew member, like he knows how to rig a torch. So he goes with the captain to the engineer room to start rigging this thing. Meanwhile, his crew member, who is the lady who's 151 years old, she stays behind by the door. That's when she hears like this clicking noise, and she goes and she leaves the area to check. Very, very stupid. I don't know why people are splitting up and going their own separate ways when they know there's some kind of weird alien creature on board, but they decide to do that. And she sees like she sees like a hole in this wall, like the wall's already deteriorating and rusting away. And she peeks inside and she sees the alien creature, and then she screams and we don't see her again. She's been killed. And yeah, so the captain is rigging the torch with one of the other members. Meanwhile, back in the sick bay, New Zealand man is getting his body scanned, and that's when Nancy decides to ask Hero, like, so, like, you're really a murderer? Why? Like, why would you do that? And that's when he explains himself that he's actually a medical student, and he murdered 3 drug dealers who were responsible for his sister's death. Basically, his sister was a bright, beautiful young woman who was going to college, and somehow these 3 people introduced her to drugs. She got hooked on the drugs. She, ended up prostituting herself. And when Hero discovered her, like, she was no longer as beautiful, and as she was no longer like the way he remembered her, and she ended up dying of a drug overdose. And so Hero decided to get revenge by tracking down the 3 people who did this to her, and he murdered them. The detective was pissed off because he had been spending 2 years tracking down this drug den, and he almost had them. And if it wasn't for Hero, he could have gone some of the members, he could have gotten them to talk, and he could have brought the whole thing down. But because Hero got involved and murdered people in broad daylight, he wasn't able to do that. So that's why New Zealand guy is like so gung-ho about arresting him. And then Hero explains that he was able to get on board the ship because the name that he took to get on board is an actual employee, and he's actually close friends with Hero, and he actually was in love with Hero's sister and planned on marrying her. And when he found out what happened, he decided to help out Hero by getting revenge, in the sense that, like, all right, you go and you kill these people, and I'll help you hide away by allowing you to take my name and identity to get on board the ship so that you can escape the crime. So that's how Hero got on board. Then we cut back to the captain and the other SynCam employee, and they have the 2 torches, and they realize that the woman is gone. The 151-year-old is gone. And so the captain decides to, all right, I'm going to start torching this door and trying to blast it open. And the other guy decides to go and see if he can find the woman. And he sees a hole in the wall, the same hole. He decides to do the same stupid thing that the woman did, where he walks towards the hole and he sticks his head inside the damn thing. And then we see like an alien, like tendril kind of coming out, and then the alien monster rushes out, and we don't see it actually grab him, but he's dead. So now we only have 4 people left alive, and the captain is able to cut down the door. He gets inside and he sees Lily the cat on a seat, not talking, but like communicating to the ship through text. And the cat sees it, its eyes glows, and it leaps at the captain to attack it. And the captain shoots it with the torch. He approaches it, kind of kicks it with his foot to see if it's still alive, and then that's when he realizes that the cat is not really a cat, but is actually a robot, and it's basically a robotic replica of Nancy's cat. The cat rushes off and escapes, and he goes and he checks the master computer and asks if there's a way to exterminate the virus. And the ship says, I can't answer that. So then he asks, well, is there a way for us to get back to Earth? And then the ship says, we can't answer that. And he's like, well, figure it out. And then the ship says that it only takes orders from the master. Not long after hypersleep, the ship was rewired so that it doesn't follow the captain's orders anymore, and now follows the master. So then he asks, "Well, who the hell is the master then?" And it explains that the master is Lily Cats. Cat as in computerized animal-shaped technological robots. And we discovered that this Lily Cat robot was the one who took over the ship earlier. While everyone was in hypersleep, it's the one that erased the data on the computer. It's the one that used the ship's arm to grab the alien debris and bring it onto the ship, because C.A.T wants to study this bacteria. And the captain realizes that C.A.T doesn't care about the lives of the human crew on board. He realizes that with this robot on board, it doesn't have like a conscience. It just follows orders, and the C.A.T don't have to pay the humans. Like, they don't have to pay them paychecks or anything like that. They can just basically have free labor using this cat. So the cat has, once it realizes that this thing is taking over the ship, the cat has been trying to kill off the humans so that there's no witnesses, as well as it's been jettisoning parts of the ship so that it can make a return trip back to Earth, so that C.A.T can get their hands on it and study it in their bases on Earth. So yeah, the captain realizes that a huge percentage of this ship is infected with this disease that's basically deteriorating the ship, and so he informs the rest of the members that are still alive, and like, we got to get the hell out of here. We got to get to another section of the ship that hasn't been contaminated yet. So they start rushing, and as they're rushing through, they get attacked by the alien, and they make it into this area that's not contaminated yet, and they seal that area. And that's when the captain informs everyone else about the robots and what it's trying to do and all this stuff. And then the New Zealand man, it turns out that he was infected, and we see what happens to the people infected. So basically, they kind of, it's weird. It's like they kind of just like dissolve into like almost like a fleshy paste, and it basically gets sucked up into the ceiling, and all that's left in the New Zealand man are his clothes. So it's kind of like a reverse syndrome. That's what Hero calls it. It's basically where they reverse mitosis and accelerate the growth process of like dormant cells in a short period of time. So it's weird. Like it basically absorbs all the human makeup, but it leaves behind the clothes. And he kind of compares it to like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly and stuff. It's just like a weird analogy. Yeah, Hero realizes, well, like we're basically screwed. Like there's nothing we can do. That the ship is becoming infected. It's blasting out like the cargo and stuff. We're not going to be able to make a trip back to Earth. Like we're not going to survive for 20 years. We're going to starve to death. Or if we don't starve to death, we get killed by the aliens. So regardless of what we do, we're done for. So he takes the shotgun that the New Zealand man had, loads it up with 3 bullets, and basically says, well, there's 3 shells. There's 3 of us. We have no choice but to commit suicide. So he puts the shotgun to his mouth, and he's about to pull the trigger when the captain stops him. And the captain basically explains that there is a way that we can survive. I still have my lucky charm. Basically, his lucky charm is the object that he brought on board the ship. Like I mentioned earlier, everyone is allowed to bring one item that they want on board the ship. Nancy brought on board her cat. The Florida man brought aboard his shotgun, stuff like that. And so he says, like, I have my thing that I brought aboard. So they go down this elevator, and it turns out that the thing that the captain brought on board was a shuttle that he stored. And it was basically his very first shuttle. It's an old shuttle. In fact, it's basically the shuttle that NASA used to use, like the Columbia space shuttle and stuff like that. It looks like that. And he basically explains that, like, it's old, it's out of commission. A lot of people told me to, like, destroy it, but this shuttle has been with me like through so much that I couldn't do that. So I bring you to board with me on every mission, just as like a good luck charm. And he tells them like, you can use a shuttle, you can go onto the planet that we came here for, and you can just live the rest of your lives there. Like there's no way we can make it back on Earth, but we can survive by going down to the planet below. So Nancy and Hero get off the elevator and they go towards the shuttle when the captain closes the elevator and starts going up, and they discover he's not coming with them. And they ask him why. He's like, I have to stop this thing and make sure that it doesn't get back to Earth. So Nancy and Hero get their suits on and go into the space shuttle. Meanwhile, the captain goes into this room. I think it's the engine room. Basically, there's a lot of hydrogen being stored in these tanks. And what he does is he releases all the hydrogen out. And of course, when he starts doing that, he starts suffocating because he's breathing in hydrogen instead of oxygen. And he's laying on the floor, he's dying, and then he pulls out a lighter and he lights it up and blows up the ship. The lighter ignites the hydrogen, huge explosion. We see the explosion going through the entire ship, and as this is happening, Nancy and Hero blast out of the ship in the shuttle, and they start making their way towards the planet. And that's when they realize that the alien had got on board and is attached to the exterior of the shuttle. And we cut back to the ship. It explodes. Lily Cat explodes. The ship is no more. All that stuff now is Hero, Nancy, the shuttle, and the alien. And as the shuttle starts going through the planet's atmosphere, it starts lighting up and it starts burning. And basically, this alien bacteria creature burns out. It burns out in the atmosphere. It's dead. All that's left now is Hero and Nancy. And Nancy, looks at Hero, realizes that he seems to be kind of lost in thought, and asks him, what's going on? Like, what are you thinking about? And then Hero says, he starts talking about something like about butterflies and caterpillars, about how like do butterflies ever regret becoming butterflies? Do they ever regret leaving their caterpillar bodies? Do caterpillars ever dream about becoming butterflies? Like, it's just some like really weird anime-ish quote. And all I can think of is like, if I was Nancy, I'd just be like, okay then, this is a guy I'm going to be stuck on this planet with for the rest of my life. But yeah, that's how it ends. It basically ends with them flying towards the planet, and we don't know their fate. I mean, I'm assuming that this planet is inhabitable because these people were here to, go onto the planet in the first place. But they're going to be the only two people on this planet. And they basically get to live the rest of their lives with just each other for company. So that's how that ends. So there you go. There's Lily Cat. Like I said, I enjoyed this movie. I liked it. I wish, I don't know, it's different than what I had assumed it was going to be. Like, before I watched it for the first time. Like I was thinking it was going to be like, more like battling the alien and stuff like that. But they really don't. It's more of a survival than it is like an action. I don't want to necessarily say action, but like, okay, so like in John Carpenter's The Thing, they actually fight off the alien. Like they actually, try to torch it and things like that. In Alien, the first movie, they actually, try to kill this alien creature. They try to hunt it down and stuff like that. In this movie, they don't try to do anything like that. They're just trying to survive. Like they don't try to get involved with the alien at all. And in fact, it's almost like the Lily Cat robot is more of an antagonist than the actual alien. I mean, the alien does kill everyone, but it's because the cat let it. So I don't know. I kind of wish that I had seen more of the alien, just get more about it. Then again, the fact that this alien is so mysterious and stuff is kind of cool. Like, I mean, whenever you like over explain things, it just kind of ruins the mystique of it. I thought it was really good. If you like the movie Alien, then definitely check it out because it's very much like that. Not only does it borrow a lot of like the premise and ideas from that movie, but also the way that things are shot. There's a lot of like slowness in the scenes. Like there are times where you just see like empty hallways and it's just quiet. There's no music or anything like that. It's very reminiscent of some of the same shots and scenes from Alien, where you just kind of drag out moments and scenes to kind of build up the tension and the quietness and the claustrophobia. This movie, I would say, is not as claustrophobic. I mean, one, the fact that its artwork kind of helps, like, it kind of harms it from being, too scary. But also the fact that this movie is brighter than the Alien movie. But you still kind of get that same sense of claustrophobia. Like, this is not like a ship that you really want to be on. It's very much Alien. Not only like the ship and the way it's shot and the claustrophobia, but even the whole like robots working for the company that kind of becomes antagonistic. That's also straight out of Alien. And then you basically throw in John Carpenter's The Thing. I wish that there was more of the John Carpenter's The Thing aspect. Like we see this alien creature, and before it attacks people, like we see that it takes the shape of like the people that it killed. Like I wish that there was more of the alien trying to disguise itself as one of the crew members. Kind of like in John Carpenter's Thing, where like, you don't know who's a thing and who's not. I wish there was more of that. There's none of that in this whatsoever. And I felt like that was a wasted opportunity. You could have really built up a lot of tension by not only having two members on the ship aren't who they claim to be, but also now you have people on the ship who might not even be human. You could have built a lot of tension in that way, and that would have been so cool to have moments like that. But there's none of that in this whatsoever. Like there's no point in time where you're like, oh, this person is not who they claim to be. Like even the people who end up being infected, like the New Zealand guy, they're still themselves until they die. Like they're not like infected and then they're the alien that's and the alien's controlling them and whatever. They are who they are until their death. So that's like a wasted opportunity. I thought you could have had a lot of cool tension moments by having these aliens take over these people and trying to mimic them and stuff like that. But other than that, yeah, great movie in my opinion. I thought it was really good. Artwork, like I love the old school anime artwork, especially the 80s. Like the 80s anime is like my favorite time period when it comes to just the art style and the animation style and stuff, especially when it comes to movies and OVAs. It feels like they put a lot of like thought and attention to detail and stuff. Like it has its own style, and I don't know, I feel like anime nowadays, I mean there's some really good and beautifully drawn anime nowadays, like don't get me wrong, but I feel like a lot of them are just kind of copy paste. Like a lot of them just have the same style, like there's no uniqueness. So I love like old school anime, especially the 80s, early 90s. Everyone's like uniquely drawn. It's not like a lot of other animes where like everyone has like the same face and you can only tell who like people apart because of their hairstyles or their eye color. Like everyone is uniquely drawn differently. Yeah, like everyone stands out from everybody else. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I like, again, really good movie. It has its flaws, and there are moments that it could have done a little bit different, a little bit better. Things like that I would have liked. But it's one of those where I say if you haven't watched it yet, please go track it down and watch it. Currently, it is on Tubi, so you guys can watch it there for free. I highly recommend checking it out. It is the American version, so it's dubbed. So yeah, go check it out. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys got any stuff you guys want me to review, let me know. Especially like anime. Again, I'm trying to stick to movies and OVAs. And OVAs with like 3-6 episodes. Just because I'm one of those people where I can't review an entire season in one video. Like I like to give each episode its own attention. So that's why I'm not doing series. I'm not doing it like, even though a lot of new anime is like 12 episodes, it's still like that'd be 12 different videos that I'm doing for just one series. So I rather do like one and done stuff that I can. So if you got anime movies I should check out, let me know. Or if you got like, 3 episode OVAs, 2 episode OVAs, I'll even check out like 6 or more episode OVAs. Because like one of the series I want to do is the original Bubblegum Crisis, which is like, I believe, 8 OVA episodes. So I'm okay with doing stuff like that. But if you got like, especially if you got movies, not specifically, especially if you got anime movies I should check out, let me know. And yeah, I'll add them to the list. But for anyone interested, some of the stuff that I'm thinking of doing would be like Ghost in the Shell, Bubblegum Crisis. I'm thinking about maybe Redline, Project A.C.O. Yeah, maybe Venus Wars. Like, especially like I want to start doing a lot of like retro anime as well, just because like that's my favorite. But yeah, if you guys have any recommendations, let me know. But with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I would love to hear your thoughts on the movie, on this video itself. And again, once again, sorry if for my voice. My voice is kind of weird. I'm still dealing with COVID. Like basically, it kicked my ass for 2 days, and now like I'm fine. Other than I just have sinus issues and a nasty cough. So it's kind of been it's kind of infecting. So it's kind of affected my voice, obviously, because my nose is just stuffed up and there's nothing I can do to clear that. But yeah, I hope you guys are okay with that. But yeah, hope you guys take care, everybody. Stay safe. Hope to see you next time. Later.